What is going on, No Horsing Around family? Zach Boyd at it again, back with Mock 2.0. And guys, I'm super excited about this one. I've got my man Matt on here from Inside the Horseshoe Podcast. Matt, I've been trying to get you on for a while. I've had this idea and it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
But here we are, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm very excited. We're 2 weeks away from the draft? A little under 2 weeks now, so
Yeah.
it's all exciting. I still don't know what we're gonna do at 42. So yeah, pretty excited.
I don't think anybody could crawl in the side of the mind of Chris Ballard,
Right.
So if you can, let me know, man. That would be amazing. But
It would be. I'm trying.
Yeah. So let's just hop right into it. That's how we always do on the show. So last mock, we went with George Pickens, a guy who I feel like is really going to be, I think in this mock, we're going to flip flop. I felt like George is going forward, and the guy I'm going to pick with 2.0 is maybe sliding a little bit, although he's not sliding for me. And I'm going to just go quickly and let you know I'm going with give me Christian Watson. I didn't think that Christian would be there in the second round, but just from listening to things, and there's a lot of smoke. You never know. He's a premier athlete. There's no doubt about it, Matt. But I think there's a chance that he'll be there. Thoughts on that one? What say you? Does he slide? Is he gone by the time 42 is around? Where are you at?
See, I feel like he's going up on a lot of people's draft boards. I think he was a second round pick, maybe even a third round at some point during this past season, but now I feel like he's climbing up. I think the Packers, Kansas City, those are teams to watch out for that might go after Christian Watson. I feel like George Pickens is rising too, but he's one of those players I feel like he keeps going up and down. Like there's one day I feel like he's not going to be available at 42, and then I feel like he will be at the same time. Like there's a lot of the guys I feel like that are like that, like Dotson, even Watson's a guy as well. But I think with Watson, it's just that athletic ability, his size, his speed, just everything he offers. Yeah, there's some drop issues, but I feel like a lot of teams aren't caring as much about that, and they just see the size, speed, just how good he is at like keeping the ball and staying in like good frame, getting out of frame to catch the ball well. So I feel like he's going to climb up, and I feel like today it's going to be George Pickens. I think George Pickens is the one that's going to be available. Sky Moore is maybe available, but that's
Love
tough.
me some Sky Moore.
I would love to get him, but I just think one of the teams maybe early second round are going to land Sky Moore. Same with John Dotson. So I'm kind of on George Pickens right now as far as who I think is going to be available at 42.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like I said, like last week we went with the George Pickens. It's really a coin flip too, Matt. I feel like, us as Colts fans, we all want a wide receiver. This is a pretty solid wide receiver class. Especially after you get past, those initial 3 or 4, there's still a lot of talent. I mean, I've got probably 12 guys that are really, really good.
Right.
I mean, they could play and probably will be drafted day 1, day 2. But that being said, Pickens, he's an intriguing prospect, no doubt about it. I'm a big PFF guy. Some people hate him. Some people love him or hate him. I will disagree with PFF. They have Watson ranked way further down than really anybody else. But Watson screams Chris Ballard, right? Like he absolutely screams Chris Ballard. Sky Moore is probably my favorite. Once we get past like Olave, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, I love me some Sky Moore. But you feel like Sky Moore's maybe not a Chris Ballard type of guy quite as much. I would hope he would be, if he were there. But Chris seems to really like those guys who have those. He talks about unique, rare traits. Christian Watson has those. Biggest fear for me, Matt, is there's going to be a huge run at the top of that second round on wide receivers just in general. Like starting at Kansas City all the way to us, it's going to be tough. And I just don't know who really falls to us. Somebody is going to fall to us. It's just who does the NFL covet, for their system?
That's what I'm worried about too. That's why I think Watson, I think the latest he goes is probably like mid 30s in all honesty. George Pickens, like I said, I'm flip-flopping on as far as if he'll be available, but I could see him getting drafted early. honestly, you can get to the point to where like a guy like Alec Pierce might be the best option to go with at 42. And at that point, I think we trade back. And I mean, I said this in my mock draft, I think earlier today was don't be surprised if they take a quarterback at 42.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with all these receivers that are going to be going early, don't be surprised if they go with quarterback, a left tackle, and then maybe get a receiver in the third round. Because I think David Bell is going to be available at 73. Alec Pierce might be available there too. So I would just say don't be surprised, if they don't go receiver at 42. I know
Yeah.
everybody would freak out about it, but don't be surprised.
I would agree. I mean, I think for me, I think it would be tackle would
Yeah.
probably be more likely than quarterback. But I'll say
Mhm.
this: they're doing their diligence, right? Like
Yeah.
they're not playing around. They're having these guys in. They're going out and seeing all of these guys. Do you like the idea of that? Like, let's just segue into that next part. Like,
Mhm.
do you like the idea of setting a guy 2 years, not 1 year,
Yeah.
and then playing them potentially in that third year? Thoughts on that?
I'm torn on it because
Yeah.
we have to get that guy eventually, right? We have to get that guy who's going to be here for 10, 12 years or longer. And it could be this year. I would prefer it to be next year. Maybe draft that quarterback from JMU, maybe in round 6 or 7 that they're real high on and see what he can do. And I saw some of his tape. He actually looks like he could be a pretty solid quarterback, but I mean, I don't want them to personally. I
Yeah.
would prefer them to wait, but I can see the benefit of going after one of them now, especially if you can get like Ritter at 42 or if you can get Sam Howell, around 50 if you trade back. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't be 100% for it.
Yeah, I could see it happening, but
Mhm.
Ritter to me feels more like a Colts guy than any of those
Yeah.
guys, just because of his demeanor, his leadership, the way
Mhm.
he has played football. Um, I don't think it happens this year, Matt. That's my gut feeling, but
Yeah.
I agree. I 100% agree. Like if it happens, I'm not going to be sitting here on the couch just sinking in the couch like, oh my gosh, this came out
Right.
of nowhere. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, as Colts fans, if you're following anywhere, I mean, they're going to private workouts.
Yeah.
They're around all of these quarterbacks.
Mhm.
I think a little bit of that has to do with he just wants to get his scouts in this kind of this mindset of let's start looking at quarterbacks. Let's look
Right.
at what we do like, for future classes, even if something
Yeah.
doesn't fall our way. I wouldn't be just blown away if we took a left tackle in the
Mhm.
second round as well. That being said, I kind of take Chris Ballard at face value that he's going to give Pryor a chance this year to be the
Yeah.
starter. Um, do you like that? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, it feels a little bit icky to me because
Mhm.
I don't like to just give a guy a job. I would rather him
Right.
go out there and earn it. Not to say
Mhm.
he didn't play very well in his role last year. Like Matt Pryor, I think, when he got traded from Philly, everybody was like, hey, you can have him. You know what I mean? Like, we
Yeah.
don't want him. And this guy come for us. And I was not disappointed at all in Matt Pryor's
Mhm.
play. You know what I mean? Like, I was impressed, I would even say.
Yeah.
Do you like the idea of just saying, hey, we're going to hand you the keys, we're going to give you the shot? Or do you think, hey, man, you got a chance to be the starter, but we're not giving you anything? How would you approach it?
Um, I wouldn't hate it if they gave him the job. Last year he played well. I think he only allowed 8 pressures. No sacks were allowed by him. I know it's a completely different position than right tackle, a whole different way to approach the game, but I'm not against it. I think he'll do all right. I do think no matter what, you have to draft, his backup. And it takes him about a year or two to get adjusted to the NFL, this whole speedy NFL and the lifestyle. So I'm fine with letting Matt Pryor be the guy this year, let him start, and then maybe draft that guy from Minnesota, Daniel Falele, who's like 6'9", 380 pounds. Let him learn the
Yeah.
system and everything. And then next year have him, fight with Matt Pryor for the job.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, one of those. I don't know, man. I think it's
Mhm.
going to be wide receiver. The last
Yeah.
time it just usually Ballard, when you think it's going to be one thing, he always goes a different direction.
Mhm.
The one outlier was the year that he picked Pittman. We all knew we needed a wide receiver. That was a
Mhm.
deep wide receiver class, and he just said, "All
Yeah.
right, we're going to take the consensus best player because we need them anyways." I think
Mhm.
that's probably what's going to happen here as well. I think
Yeah.
we need a wide receiver. It's pretty glaring. I've come along and said we're going to get 2 pass catchers in this draft. I don't know if that's a tight end and a wide receiver, if that's two wide receivers. I don't think we walk out of this draft without 2 pass catchers because I think they want to get younger, more talented. They want to stretch the field, but they also want to have that guy underneath that can really, keep the chains moving with Matt Ryan in that offense.
I agree. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to get that receiver first, and I think they're going to get a tight end pretty early too. Not sure if it would be the 3rd round or 4th round, but that's kind of where I'm thinking they're going to take a tight end. There's some good tight ends that'll be available around that spot. Like Isaiah Likely is a guy I like a lot. He's definitely that receiving tight end I think Chris Ballard wants. Jelani Woods is some guy that I know a lot of people are definitely fans of. Cade Otton, Jeremy Ruckert. So I definitely see him taking a tight end pretty early, but I do think they take probably 2 receivers in this draft.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking.
I would agree 100%. And I would be a fan of them going back to back, man. Like if you want to go 2nd, 3rd round, I think David Bell, you mentioned him earlier, just from his pure metrics and just because of this class, I think David Bell actually might fall to like the 4th round. Like he could fall a little bit further because he's not a premier athlete, but like he's a very, very talented wide receiver. Yeah. Like he just does everything well, and he's one of those guys that you feel like his tape shows a lot more than his 40 time when it comes down to it. I think he could really be an addition as well.
Oh yeah, like he just finds ways to get open. I mean, he's not the fastest guy on the field and he's not the strongest guy, but he'll get open. Like I mean, that's all he did in Purdue is he would get open. He did really well against really good defenses. He destroyed Ohio State, and they don't have that great of a defense, I would say, but still, he's destroying them. Iowa. He just gets open. So if he falls to the 4th round, I don't care if we took 2 receivers already, take him. Yeah. Take him if he's available in 4th. Get 3.
Yeah. Give me some David Bell. Yeah.
Give me David Bell
for sure. So, all right, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question. Okay. So hypothetically at 42, we're going to be considering that all these 3 players would be available at 42. And I'm going to ask Matt to be the general manager right now.
All right. It's not a good. That's not good for the Colts.
Yeah, it's not good for the Colts. Me neither, man. So let's say Jahan Dotson, Christian Watson, and George Pickens are there at 42. What's Matt B doing? What's Matt gonna do at 42 and pick? Who's he gonna pick?
People are gonna disagree with me on it. I'm gonna go with Watson. I just think his size, the speed he has, he's physical. He's a really good run blocker. He is a perfect fit, I think. Like he is Chris Ballard's like dream receiver, and that's the type of guy I want. Yeah, he has those drop issues, but that's something I think we can get adjusted. We can get fixed. I mean, didn't Jonathan Taylor have catch issues? Isn't that what they said? And then we see him being used, and he's catching everything. Yeah. So, or like he has issues fumbling the ball, but he really hasn't had that problem in the NFL. So I would go Watson. I just think that size, speed, and just how athletic he is something that is really difficult for me to pass up on, even if George Pickens or Dotson's there.
Yeah, it's rare too. Like if I had to kind of break all 3 down, Dotson is a smooth receiver, but he doesn't seem Ballard-ish because he just doesn't hit that size metric. Ballard really covets those bigger wide receivers. Pickens is definitely an intriguing receiver because like he only dropped 2 passes in college. Like, I mean, he literally catches everything thrown to him and he's dynamic. Also is an outstanding, in the blocking game. Like he can really, really block people. Like he's a physical guy. A, he's been hurt. And B, I'm not sure he's quite the Colts culture. I mean, I know that Chris sometimes will kind of lean a little bit the other direction. But I think if all 3 were going, you're right. I mean, Watson would be a dream come true for him. He has the size, he has the speed. And if there's one thing that Chris Ballard's really kind of passed on and not really kind of been so deep with, I would say guys who drop footballs, he's always given a chance. He's always wanted to develop those guys. He's had Ebrons in the past.
Mhm.
All of these guys, even, you look at Kylan Granson, last year had drop problems, but he still took them, because he saw all of these other things that could be coached into him. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I probably in that instance would probably agree with you.
Mhm.
Got a lot of Colts people who love George Pickens right now, though. I'll say that. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten that my fair share of feedback.
Yeah.
And honestly, any of those three are probably going to make the Indianapolis Colts a better football team.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think any of those three would be a better option than like an Ashton Duel and Paris Campbell. You just don't know. It's a health issue. But if he stays healthy, maybe Paris Campbell beats out one or two of them. But yeah, I mean, any of those guys, they would be great for us. I think Matt Ryan would love all three of them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let me ask you this. We all
Mhm.
know that wide receiver is a big, big deal for us.
Yeah.
What other position of need do you feel like that the Colts need to address
Mhm.
and or will address in the NFL draft?
I It's tough because I think the two I would say is it's either left tackle or it's tight end, but it's like we're young in those positions. There's potential in both those positions where we'll be perfectly fine. I probably wouldn't lean tight end though, just because I think we need that third tight end at the worst. So I think tight end is a bigger need, but left tackle I think we got to figure out probably within the next year or two as well, depending on what Matt Pryor does. So I'd probably go tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if the right left tackle's there, I like the
Mhm.
left tackle,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, if you look over the history in the course of time, I mean, great left tackles don't usually fall that far
Mhm.
into the draft. That doesn't mean you can't get good value. You can't hit on a guy at left tackle,
Right.
but you're elite, guaranteed slam dunk. You're guys who are like I can guarantee this guy at the very least is just going to be a very solid
Mhm.
player in the NFL. They don't generally always fall in your lap right there.
Right.
Tight end is a position, my gosh, I mean, he loves Ohio State guys, right? So
Mhm.
like he seems to really go that way. So maybe fourth round, third round, whenever it is, maybe he does go out there and grab him one. I think it's probably prudent also to grab a guard at some point. You can get guards a little bit later
Yeah.
in the draft, but just for depth purposes, I think
Mhm.
one of the things that Chris Ballard, and I've been the hardest person probably on Chris Ballard, this
Right.
offseason, but the depth that he had on the offensive line was incredible last year with having
Mhm.
Chris Reed and Matt Pryor, two really, really good guys that could come in there. And I mean, Matt, we didn't miss a beat when those guys were in there. Like we just kept churning it out.
Right.
I think that depth needs to stay intact. I think we need to keep aggressive. We need to go out there and continue to add to that room.
Mhm.
Only thing I would say about Danny Pinter that I'm a little bit nervous about, he's had a little bit of a health issue since he's been a Colt. Like he's been hurt. He's had these little nagging injuries that's kept him, on the injury report ever so often. But when
Right.
he played, I mean, dude, he looked good.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he looked really good. So I don't have a problem with him starting there.
Mhm.
I would have really liked Reed to be there as well, just like as that insurance
Yeah.
policy. That one
Mhm.
hurt. Probably to me, I think Reed hurt more than Glowinski.
Oh,
How
yeah.
do you feel about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I thought Reed played better than Galinsky, and I thought Galinsky played pretty good, like he was consistent pretty much all year. Wasn't bad, wasn't great. I thought he played pretty well, but Chris Reed, when he played, for the time he played with us, I thought he did a really good job. Honestly, I would have given him the starting job over Danny Pinter. Like, I think Danny Pinter is a really nice piece to have, whenever we have somebody who needs to be out for a week. I think he's great. Like when we had Ryan Kelly out, I thought he did a really good job. But yeah, it hurts to lose Chris Reed. That hurt pretty bad.
The dude was solid, man. I
Oh yeah,
mean, he was just really in the run game, and I'd have to think moving forward. I mean, that's probably if they had to choose, pass blocking and run blocking. I think they're going to prioritize run blocking just simply because
probably.
they have potentially, if he doesn't get hurt, knock on wood, a
Yeah,
Hall of Fame worthy running back in their backfield. Like he
yeah,
is.
yeah.
He is one. He's a generational talent at running back. I mean, legitimately hand him the ball off from the line of scrimmage and can take it to the house on any given carry. So last topic before we hop off here. Big news, Stephon Gilmore. Come on, man. We got to show him some love for sure. And one of the biggest signings and probably one of the most important signings that Chris Ballard has ever had as the Colts general manager. And I love the fact, I was talking to Cody right before it happened. And I said, we got to do it for 2 years if we get them, though. I hate these 1 year hang it out deals. And then next year we're right back at it again. You get this guy for 2 years, probably his last two really, really like peak years. And you've got a hell of a cornerback for the next 2 years. And if he's healthy, you don't have to worry about, that side of the field this year.
Oh, yeah. I think it's great. I remember I was on, I think it was on Derek's stream. And it was like when everybody was freaking out saying, oh, this offseason is going crazy. And I just sat there and was like, look, I'm being patient. I'm waiting until week 1. It's like, I know they're going to address these needs. Chris Ballard knows they have to. I got criticized. I was patient. It happened. Ever since I said that, got Matt Ryan, got Stephon Gilmore, McLeod, a bunch of other nice pieces you can have coming off the bench. Hey, you got to trust the process. I loved it.
I guess. I mean, for this year, it certainly worked out. I mean, McLeod also a sneaky good signing. Like, right? Oh, yeah. Like this is a guy who is a complete plug and play veteran. And I think honestly, even when Blackman comes back, it doesn't hurt his ability to still stay on the field. Right. I like Kari Willis, but I mean, you might have a situation, especially in coverage situations, where you might want McLeod and Blackman on the field at the same time.
Yeah. Definitely. Not Blackman, sorry. McLeod's definitely one of those guys that you can have out there as a starter. So if Blackman's out for the first week or two, you can have McLeod in there and he can start, and you won't be worrying about, what's going to happen now that Blackman's not out there. So yeah, I mean, I was pretty big on that signing. I thought the Armani Watts one is pretty good too. Not like a fantastic signing or anything, but I thought it was a pretty good signing. But yeah, I'm happy. I love that we got Stephon Gilmore. And like you said, if he stays healthy, don't worry at all about that side of the field. Yeah, I cannot wait to watch Colts Patriots, see him pick off Mac Jones a couple times in Foxborough. That's going to be even better.
That would be incredible. You think T.Y. is coming back to this team?
I think he wants to.
This is the last question, Matt. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
But just like T.Y., I just thought of that. I was like, man, I got to ask him. I mean, you almost feel bad because you almost feel like T.Y. literally is begging this team to come back and play for him, and they've just not offered. Maybe there's been some sort of dialogue where they've said, hey, after the draft, we'll see where we're at. We'll give you an honest answer. I mean, I think Chris Ballard respects T.Y. enough for that, but I don't think T.Y. wants to play anywhere else. It might be a matter that he has to play somewhere else if he wants to play another season.
Yeah, I mean, I want him back for sure. I definitely want T.Y. back. And, like you said, I think he's going to be one of those guys who won't get signed until after the draft. So, I mean, we have the money. He's not going to cost a whole lot. He'll be pretty cheap. And it's like, it's going to be a 1 year deal. So why not? It's not going to affect our cap next year. It's not going to hurt us. So why not? There's some people saying we can't. He's too much money. It's like, we have the money. He's only going to sign for a year. Who cares? Bring him back. He'd be a great leader for everybody in there, especially the young guys coming in.
And I don't think he would want that much, honestly. Like, I think he's probably at this point, he's realistic. Like he's heard the market. He knows what his value is. I mean, he couldn't be asking for more than a few $1 million a year, at this point. So, I mean, I think he'd be a great, veteran presence. You have him, bring the band back. You got Reggie Wayne in the house now. Those two kind of grew up, and together. I think they would be great teachers of this next new generation. If nothing else, if T.Y. Hilton is your fourth wide receiver on your team, you got a pretty damn good football team.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So before we get off here, Matt, man, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can check you out at.
You can find me on Inside the Horseshoe Podcast. I try to upload every day, or at least 5-6 times a week, just doing a bunch of Colts content. I do mock drafts, really focusing on the draft right now. Might have a video on Desmond Ritter coming up on Monday. And then I might be making a video on Julio Jones tomorrow as well. So,
Hey,
yeah, that's where you guys can find me. And then I'm on Twitter at horseshoe_pod.
cool, man. Hey, so Matt, thank you so much for hopping on here today, and we'll definitely have to do it again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And thank you for having me on.
Hey,
It was a lot of
absolutely,
fun.
man. Take care, brother.